Good morning, everybody. Hope you're doing well. So today, I'm going to get right into this. Talk about how to take your threshold rep workouts, even tempo runs, to another level. Okay, I'm Coach Jason from Top Line Running. As always, hope you're doing well. As always, when it comes to a workout, it's good to have a good warm-up, drills and strides, and depending on what you're looking to do in the workout, a couple of transitional 200s, right? If this is your first time hearing about this, 2 to 3 times a 200 with a 200-meter jog after your workout, after your warm-up, at the pace you're looking to run in the workout. So if you're looking to run like 5:20 pace for the mile, you're looking to run these 200s in 39 or 40. Looking to run 6-minute pace, you're going to run them in 44 to 45. Okay. What that does, it helps you identify the pace you're looking to run in the workout before the workout starts. It puts you 2 steps ahead. That's exactly where you want to be. Why? Because you want to take advantage of what? 100% of the workout, not just 60% of it or 80% of it, and so on and so forth. So that's what we're talking about today. Okay. Topic is how to spice up your threshold rep workouts and your tempo runs. Okay. And at any point in time, also, if you're a coach and an athlete, you enjoy this, it's your first time here, welcome. You enjoy this content. You always want to take advantage of live streams. You always want to ask questions. I'm here live every weekend. Okay. And make sure that you do 2 things. Hit the like button if you enjoy the content enough to come back, and make sure you subscribe to the channel. I will take care of the rest, and I thank you so much for it. Okay, on the road to 10,000 subs. I'd like to get there this year. And I'm also speaking from 2 decades experience as a coach. Okay, I'm USATF certified. I've competed at the high school and collegiate and post-collegiate levels at a high level, and I've coached at all of them as well. I'm also Wharton trained and certified musculoskeletal active isolated flexibility therapist. So as always, I'm here to help you run fast, keep you healthy while you do it. Okay, those things don't always combine together. This is exactly what I'm here to do for you. Okay, so let's get right into this. Workout 1. These are just bulk examples. Let's just say the workout is 5 times a K at threshold pace. Okay, I have workouts. I have videos on here. How to identify your threshold pace. How to identify your tempo run pace. How to identify your critical velocity pace based on what you run for a mile. I have videos on here fully detailed from 8 minutes down to 4 minutes. So if you're looking for that, just scroll right down. You'll find them. Okay, so the workout here is 5 times 1K threshold. Okay, we're going to use 320 for the 1K. That's 40 seconds per 200. This is a nice even number. Okay, it's 40 per 200, 80 per 400. So 40, 40, 40, 40, 40. With a 1-minute recovery after each rep. Okay. The idea now is to bump it down to 317 or 318 per rep. But you're going to do 40, 40, 40, 40. And then the last rep, the last 200, you're going to run 37 or 38. You're going to increase the pace in the last 200 of each rep. So if you're doing 5 of these, it's going to be 5 of them with a 200-meter rep. It's slightly faster. What it's going to do is help you finish a little bit faster with each rep without compromising the threshold goal of the workout. We're staying within the threshold pace for at least 800-meter rep, at least 800 of the 1K rep. But we're going to accelerate the last rep, the last 200 of each one. Okay? So that's workout 1. And again, this gets used to finishing faster, right? It's something that you want to do along the way. You can also do 320 evenly and then do a couple of 200s at the back end a little bit faster. You can do that as well. Okay, that's something you can do too. But this gets you used to accelerating during the rep, not having to take rest after the rep and then accelerating. There's a little bit of a different attack here, but no less consistent, no less effective. Okay, that's workout 1. Okay, workout 2, we flip it around. Okay, the same workout, 5 times 1K at threshold pace, 1-minute recovery. Okay, using the example of 320 per rep, but instead of running the last 200 at 37, 38, you're going to run the first 200 at 37, 38. What does that do? Okay, it gets you accelerating from the gun, right? And then settling into the pace. Where is this most applicable? Right now, cross country. You usually have a path of what, like 100 people going at bat out of hell to try to do what? Establish position. You're going from 100 wide to like 4 or 5 wide, and you have to do it as a necessity. This is most applicable in cross country here. It's applicable in track too, but this is really applicable in cross country. And again, you're doing 5 of these reps, and each 5 of them, you're going out harder for the first 200. Okay, this is a gradual thing too. I'm not saying go out in 30 and then settle into 40. Not yet. Okay, as you get fitter, the rest can get faster. As you get fitter, the first 200 or the last 200 can get faster, but I would expect the entire rep to get faster, and so on and so forth. So you could work your way down each way with each rep. But these are these are good examples. 1K reps, last 200 hard, and then the first 200 hard. Really, really, really good examples, okay? Now, let's get to the next one. Let's bump up to 8 times a K. This is more applicable to college, right? 8 times a K, 1 minute recovery at threshold pace. Okay, I'm using the same example, 320, just because it gives you a nice flat number of 40 per rep. Okay, but you'll see here, now you're going to do every other rep in this workout. So the first, third, fifth, and seventh rep will be at 320 pace. Second, fourth, sixth, and eighth will be at 317 pace. But the first, second, and fourth, you're going to run what? One of the 200s, okay, at 37:38. Okay, it's up to you to decide whether you run around the first 200s of those at a faster pace, and then the last 200s at a faster pace. You can alternate them. You can do the first 2 at with the last rep at faster, the last 2 at the first 200 at faster. So it's up to you to decide. But ideally here, you're getting the same volume in, but you're doing even faster, even faster, even faster, even faster. Okay? Now you have 4 within the 8 at a slightly faster pace. Okay, this makes it a little bit easier than doing 5 consecutive. Okay, at some point, if you're fit enough, or if your athletes are fit enough, you want to do all of them in this regard, you can. But I would make sure you're able to handle the reps at an even pace first before accelerating into 200s. Okay, let's get from A to B first. And again, if you have any questions about this, put them right in the comments. Now that when I'm live, you can ask questions anytime you want. I'm more than happy to answer them. Okay, so we went from 5 times a K threshold to 8 times a K threshold. And you have 3 different options there. Okay, and you can mix and match as you see fit. I've talked about mid-season cross-country workouts where you can do 2 sets of 4 times an 800 or 4 times 1K. The first rep at threshold pace, right? The first 4 reps at threshold pace. The last 4 reps at race pace. Okay, the first reps will be at threshold pace with a 1 minute recovery. Second set of 4 reps will be 2 minute recovery at race pace. Okay, you're transitioning. This is why you're not doing right out the gate super hard intervals at race pace from week 1 to week 10 or week 12. Sometimes you'll do that and you'll be doing way too much too soon. You'll wonder why you're racing your best races way too early, and then you wonder why you're fried at the end of the season. This is why. Transitioning from one cycle to the next, making sure that your most intense cycle happens in the last 4 weeks when you are at your fittest. Okay? Periodization, 3 to 4 week blocks. Set yourself up, set your athletes up to run their best when it counts the most. If you're just doing super hard intervals and super easy days and nothing in between, there's a lot of fitness you can be leaving on the table. And we don't want to do that, right? This is why I talk about threshold and tempo runs. And speaking of tempos, let's get right into tempos now, okay? We've talked about this as well. A 20-minute tempo run. I'm giving you examples now. 6 minutes per mile or 5:30 per mile, okay? First example is a 20-minute tempo, but we're breaking down. The first 7:30 is going to be at 6 minute pace. Then the next 5 minutes is going to be a 5:50 per mile pace, right? And then the last 7:30 is going to go back down to 6 minute pace. Now, what looks familiar to you? What's 10 seconds faster per mile than tempo pace? That's your threshold pace, okay? So the middle 5 minutes of this tempo run, you're going to do threshold rep pace for one segment of 5 minutes, and then you go back to the tempo pace. This allows you to add a dynamic or an increased dynamic or increased intensity in the middle of a tempo run. Okay. This elevates your tempo run. Okay. That's when you talk when you're doing 6-minute pace. Now let's go 5:30. Same thing applies. 7 minutes and 30 seconds at 5:30 pace into what? 5 minutes at 5:20 pace into 7:30 and back at 5:30 pace. So again, the middle component of it is 10 seconds faster per mile than your tempo run pace. I'm giving you both examples now too. Okay, also a nice flat number. 6 minutes per mile is 45 per 200. 5:30 per mile, looking around 41 or something like that for 200. You can even do 40 for the threshold pace. Okay, so this is an example where the middle 5 minutes of a 20-minute tempo run is at threshold rep pace. Now you can move this around. You can break it into the third segment of 5 minutes. So you can do 10 minutes at tempo pace, 5 minutes at threshold pace, 5 minutes at tempo pace. Up to you to decide where you want this 5 minutes to be. Okay, especially if you're going to do a tempo run multiple times in a season. But here it's smack dab in the middle of it. Okay, this is a 20-minute tempo. Now let's elevate it to 25 minutes. Okay, using the same 6-minute per mile example and 5:30 per mile. For example, first time, example 1, you're going to do 10 minutes at 6 minutes per mile, then the middle 5 minutes at 5:50 per mile, then the last 10 minutes at 6 minutes per mile. Now you're at a 25-minute tempo where the middle 5 minutes is at threshold rep pace. Okay, increased intensity. You're adding quality to your tempo run. Okay, in a small segment too. If you're looking to run the whole entire tempo run from you're looking from 6 minutes per race down to 5:50 pace, you need to make sure you have a race or a time trial that backs it up, that justifies it. Then you can increase the intensity in your training. Okay, this allows you to just incrementally put it in there to set you up to run faster in a race, so that you can overall move the intensity of the tempo runs or threshold reps to the faster level. Okay, so that's segment 1. Segment 2, the first 10 minutes at 5:30 per mile, then the middle 5 minutes at 5:20 per mile, then the last 10 minutes at 5:30 per mile. Okay, now the middle 5 minutes, again, of a 25-minute tempo run are at threshold rep pace. I like to keep this kind of simple so that, because we talk about what's the difference between tempo run pace and threshold rep pace, it's about 8 to 10 seconds per mile. This is exactly where you can kind of eyeball and see for yourself where it can be, where it should be. And you can also do a tempo run where you do 20 minutes of it at tempo run pace and the last 5 minutes at threshold rep pace, adding speed at the end of the tempo. Okay, at a 20-minute, you can do 15 minutes of tempo and the last 5 minutes at threshold rep pace. It's up to you to decide where you want it to be. But I would start with it in the middle to see whether you can handle it before I move it down to the end of the tempo run later on. Okay, as you move it towards the back end of the tempo run, you want to make sure your fitness is there to back it up. Okay, so this is a middle of a tempo run, adding quality to the segment itself. Now, lastly, one more slide. This is a tempo run at a prescribed pace plus VO2 max rep. Okay, example 1, a 20-minute tempo run like you just had at your pace, whatever it might be. Take a 6 to 8 minute active recovery, and then you're going to run a 1 mile rep at 5K pace or slightly faster. Now it's significantly faster than the tempo run pace. Okay, and you can do the same thing where if you do a 25-minute tempo run, take the same 6 to 8 minute active recovery, and then a mile rep at 5K pace or slightly faster. Okay, this will also tell you how ready you are to race fast. Okay, especially in cross country, how fit you are to run the last mile hard instead of having to wait until the last 200 or the last 300 or something like that to outkick people. This will give you a good idea of how your race fitness is, how ready you are to run a fast race. Okay, so this is a tempo run plus VO2 max rep. VO2 max is generally between 3K pace and 5K pace, more race specific. Okay, VO2 max is also tempo and threshold. So we're staying within VO2 max for this whole entire workout, no matter what the workout is. Okay, you start a VO2 max initial, which is tempo or threshold rep, then you can progress towards a little bit faster, or VO2 max specific, which is again 3K pace or 5K pace. You could also do that tempo run and start with a 1K rep instead of a mile rep. If you think your athletes are not ready for a mile rep, that's fine too. You can progress from tempo run and then a 1K rep to a tempo run and a 1 mile rep at race pace. Okay. So these are some examples of how to enhance threshold rep workouts, tempo runs. Okay. If anybody has any questions, again, don't hesitate to ask questions and put them in the comments right now. I'll answer them lifetime for you. I want to make sure this makes sense. And if you've done these, I want to see. I'd like to see, like, when are you doing them? How often are you doing them? Are they working for you? But this gives you a good example on how to kind of phase from one segment of the season to the next segment of the season. And again, I say this a lot too. A lot of this can be determined of your race frequency. How often do you race? If you're racing more than once per week, do you have enough time to recover from the races and fit in workouts like this? Can you recover from these workouts, right? To race. Can you recover from your race to do these workouts? Multi, can you? There he is. These workouts you can do them any point in time, Multi Kenny. You can progress, right? It really depends on how fit your athletes are. So you can even, like, if you're with your top guys, your 1, 2, and 3s, let's just say the first workout of the season. And again, this is why I talk about also kind of starting right before the cross-country season starts, if you get the opportunity to, right? See where the athletes' are fitness is. Find out how fit they are. Establish training paces. And you can even do, let's just say this workout, one of these workouts is a couple weeks into the season. So you could do your first workout at threshold pace for everybody, lock in the pace. And then the next time you do it, you can add the first 200s hard. Get them used to going out like a bat out of hell in cross country. This always happens in cross, right? And then you can progress towards the last 200s of the rep part if you think, and it's up to you to decide as a coach when you're eyeballing and watching your athletes, who's fit enough to do either, right? Some of your athletes may need better practice going out hard and settling in, right? This could be more applicable for your 4, 5, and 6, and 7 athletes. And then your top athletes can start with the last 200s at the faster 200 pace. It's really up to you to decide. So this can be early. This could be mid-season. This could also be late season. It really depends on what you do. And again, depending on where your athletes are at, if you're progressing from 6-minute pace per threshold as they get fitter, you're getting down to 5:40 pace per threshold throughout the season, your athletes are getting fitter already. Okay. When I say taper should start 3 weeks from your if you run, let's just say your goal race is going to be states, right? Then I taper 3 weeks out from states. But I only taper one time, meaning I drop the volume, let's say 20%, and I stay there. A taper, and this is where a lot of folks get in trouble. When you're increasing volume, you want to increase and stay there, right, to give a chance to adapt. When you taper and you decrease, you want to stay there, give the athletes a chance to adapt. So instead of decreasing volume every single week, drop it 20 to 25% and then stay there. And that's when you sharpen up at the lower volume. That way they have time to adapt to the lower volume. It takes more than 1 week to adapt. So and I talk to folks a lot about this. They taper a couple of weeks, right? And they'll feel fresh, but then they'll be out of race rhythm. That's the last thing you want to do. You can feel really good, but if you're not sharp enough to attack when you need to later on, then that's gonna hurt. Then it's not gonna help you. So, if it's NXR or NXN, 3 weeks out from that. Okay, if you know you're gonna get into NXN, I taper 3 weeks out from NXN. I train through stuff, but keep in mind too. And this is why I always talk about a consistent, depending on the year of school your athletes are in. For me, freshman off every Sunday, and then after that, off every other Sunday. And the off day for your athletes, let's just say it's Sunday, makes it easier to do what? To continue to sustain your volume for a longer period of time without having to rely on the tempo, because they're recovering throughout the season. Okay? If there's an off day every other Sunday, you're giving them an opportunity to recover throughout the season, so you're not having to rely on this huge down week, right? That, especially if it's only one huge down week and then you go back up, they don't have enough time to adapt on either direction. Okay, so it's staying consistent with your training. And let's just say you're at 50 miles a week. I drop it down to 40. That's 20% drop. Drop it down to 40 and stay there. If you're at 60, drop it down to 45 and stay there. If you're at 40, drop it down to like 32, right? 20% and stay there. Okay. You stay there for a couple weeks, you'll be shocked how much better your athletes will feel. Does that answer your question, Multi-Kenny? It's a good question too, because I talk about tapering a lot with folks, and there's a whole bunch of different philosophies. And yeah, this folks are if what they're doing works, so be it. That's great. Okay. What I found when it comes to the training that I generally prescribe for my athletes is consistency is key. Having coached at the high school and the college level. Okay. Especially at a high level out of college, they'll drop and then they'll stay there. But they won't go from 80 to 40 in college, not in cross country. Now, if you go to nationals, it's not going to happen. Okay. You might go for 80 to 40 if you have middle distance runners who don't plan on running the big cross country races, right? I would say yes. You want to decrease the volume and maintain the intensity. You don't have to go down and up at the same time, because that's another adaptation period too. And again, like this is where, and this is a good question too. This is where when I start to phase in stuff throughout the season, right? Like things like this, or I'll do let's just say you do your 1K reps and then you do some 200s at the back end at 3K pace or mile pace. If you're sneaking it in all throughout the season, then you don't really need to increase intensity in the back end of it. You progress from your current to your goal, right? And if the goal is, let's just say you're at 16 minutes and you want to go down to 15:30, just as an example, right? That's where you're going to progress throughout the training, throughout the season. And I let races dictate when to increase the intensity of the training. And this is the other thing too, Multi-Kenny. Let races dictate whether you're ready to increase the intensity of training. Because that will tell you whether you're ready to not only increase it, but recover from it at the same time, right? Some folks will just go like a bat out of hell and start doing, and this is one of the things I learned. We were highly, highly interval trained in high school, okay? And I qualified for New York States, but like there were so many kids ahead of me that did not do these types of things. And I would go from like 4 times a mile to 4 times a 400 the last couple of weeks. Like it wasn't applicable to cross country. Your workouts have to still stay applicable to the events that you're running. Okay. You can go from 6 times 800, 8 times 800 down to 6, or from 6 down to 5 or whatever, and still maintain. And you can add some speed on the back end of it. But you don't need to go from 6 times an 800 at 5K pace to 6 times an 800 at 3K pace and expect to be ready for that when you're not. Okay. And that's a workout I would be doing throughout the season. And this is a lot of folks fall and get into trouble here too. The taper period is not the time to experiment. Okay. It's not the time to experiment. See, I'm going to turn my cross-country runners into milers, into half milers the last 3 weeks of the season. If they haven't done it all season, even in bits and pieces, it doesn't make sense to do it at the end of the season. Right? Taper, like I said, taper is not the time to experiment and kind of completely change their training. So you make a great point. It's a decrease in volume, but I would maintain the intensity. And if the speed is already there, 3K pace and mile pace, I would keep it there. Right, Multi-Kenny? So you hit the ball right on the button. You hit it right on the button there. The decrease in volume is where the taper is, not necessarily an increase in the intensity. So good question, Multi-Kenny. Good point too. That's why I like having you on here every weekend. I thank you for coming on. You ask really good questions. Right? And I hope other athletes and coaches see this. Okay. And don't be afraid to ask questions. Like I said too, if something's working for you, then stick with it if it's working. But if it's not working for you, especially during taper period, this might be something worth considering. Anytime, Multi-Kenny. My pleasure, man. So, anybody else in here have any questions before I wrap it up? want to make sure that we have a thorough understanding of everything, right? So this is an important. This is a good area where you can, where you can gain a lot of fitness in your training for cross country. A really good opportunity right here to gain fitness, to kind of enhance your workouts in a way that's not going to shred you or shred your athletes, right? You're sneaking in areas where you can get fitter, and all of a sudden you've done this stuff, and it's like, wait a minute, I can match moves in the middle of a race now. Why can you match moves because you've done it in practice, right? You're accelerating in the middle of a workout. You're accelerating in the beginning part, accelerating in the end part. Practicing these things throughout the season gives you an opportunity to make it easier to do it in a race, right? So I want to thank you all for joining. If anybody has any last minute questions before I wrap it up, I'll answer them right now. I want to thank you as always for coming on and joining me. Every Sunday we're here, every Sunday morning. Okay. Live Q&A, you can ask whatever you want to ask. The goal is for us to learn from each other. Okay. And like I said, I'll say this a lot. There's no magic workout that works the same way for everybody. If you're giving everybody the same workout, you need to make sure that the training groups are separate so that everybody's recovery periods for the workout are what they need to be. Right? Last thing you want to do is deprive the people in the front or deprive the people in the back of the pack of the recovery periods. That's why separating the training groups, if you have enough people to do the workout, is important. That's why you might find some people who are better off with 1K reps, some folks who need 800s because they're not ready to run the pace for the 1K reps, but they can run the same pace for 800s. Separate them when appropriate. And again, let the people in the back of the pack work their way to the front instead of people in the front working their way back. Okay? The idea in cross country is to what? Tighten that gap, right? If you can get the people in the back to do that, a lot of these workouts help them do that, then you'll have a successful season. And again, this stuff takes consistency. So you've got to do the work throughout the season. And how do you make it easy to do the work throughout the season? By running over the summer. If you're fit enough to come out of the summer and do this type of stuff, you're going to be 2 steps ahead of a lot of other people who sometimes use cross-country season to race themselves into shape. Problem with that is some of them will race themselves out of shape too, or out of sharpness, right? So if you run over the summer, even to whatever degree is, something is better than nothing. And you can build on that easier than building on nothing. So with that said, I want to thank you all for joining me. Have a great weekend. Right now, the Chicago Marathon is going on. We'll go check and see if Connor Mans is going to break the American record. So have a great Sunday, everybody. And I will talk to you next week.